Hello people of the internet, it's Amanda and oh my god, I'm so excited making this video. I'm filming this early in the morning if you can't tell with the lighting and all. I mean, sure there's an overcast because it has been raining non-stop here for the past couple of days, but still it's really early and I decided to make this video as early as I can so that all of the details are sort of fresh since I watched last night's episode of Hana Nochi Hare. So there's that. Now, just to share with you guys, I tried to catch a live broadcast last night in TBS around 10 p.m. Japan time, but then when I logged into the website, I only watched like a portion of the end, so it kind of sort of spoiled me, but not really, because I've read the manga and I think for episode 9 they did try to like redirect everything again to some of the most important turning points in the manga, so it's fine. But I did like some of the twists that they did leading up to certain events for episode 10, but I'm gonna talk more about that later. If you haven't seen it yet, I have talked about the first 8 episodes in a long ass video last week I think, and I'll be putting it somewhere here if you want to check that out. But basically I have made a recap ish in a way, but mostly just talked about some of the things that I loved about the series so far, like my thoughts on each and every episode, and if I am team Haruto or team Tenma. But it's just hella a lot of fun. Like, I've seen a lot of people talk through the comments about their opinions on the first 8 episodes of the series, and really made me happy. So it sort of like convinced me to make this video for episode 9, and so there's that. Okay, so before I start, as always, I will be talking about spoilers. I will not be holding back on details in this video, just like I did in the first video that I did for the first 8 episodes. So if you haven't seen it yet, or you're not a massive fan of spoilers, then you might as well stop watching now. But if you're really interested in what I have to say about episode 9, then please keep on watching. I'm just gonna dive right into it and just fangirl through this. So I have seen a lot of people get really frustrated with episode 8 last week on Twitter. So I was looking at people's opinions, and a lot of people were not really fond of like the direction that they're going into, considering that since episode 7 and episode 8 we have digressed a bit from what's happening in the manga. And I do know that a lot of people, especially those who prefer Haruto to end up with Otto, there's a lot of like, it's a bit conflicting to see that Haruto is opening his heart out to Megurin and stuff. But I have shared in my previous video my thoughts on that seeing as how they portrayed Haruto, definitely I love the way he sort of like recognized Megurin in a way and did not just dismiss her coldly. I'll be getting more into that later into the video, but I do think that it's one way of showing his character and his sensitivities to everything that is happening to him. Like, he's not someone who's just so focused on his feelings with Otto to the point that he is mindless of other people. And I think that's good because it shows a more human and more relatable part to the character, as compared to other characters that we have seen, not just in Hana Nochi Hare, but also in Hana Yori Dango. And yeah, I mean, it sort of like went into that all is well thing with Tenma hugging Otto, and then Haruto hugging Megurin and calling Megurin by her first name. So briefly shown to us that the atmosphere in Eitoku sort of changed because of Haruto saying that peasant hunting is over, and that he needs everybody's help to restore the dignity of Eitoku, or the reputation of Eitoku. And even though a lot of like some of the students weren't really up par with what was going on, we have seen a change in atmosphere as well when some of Otto's old friends were saying hi to her again. Like, it feels like from Otto's perspective, the atmosphere of the school has gotten lighter. And so at first we were greeted with such a nice feel to it that it's almost eerily creepy in a way, because we all know that from the preview, if you have seen the preview from episode 8's ending, you know that there's gonna be trouble after all of these sort of like happy moments. But that one of the starting points of episode 9 is that, again, it's reigniting that dynamic between Haruto and Otto's friendship. We have seen Haruto really trying his hardest to plan this actual first date with Megurin, and Otto noticing Haruto being all weird and being all stressed out, you know, them being friends, they sort of started talking about and planning it together, or at least pitching ideas to plan things out. Now, everything I'm gonna say, because I've watched the Raw episode, there's still no subs for episode 9, so please don't quote me on some of the things that I will say. It's just that I am saying this based on some of the stuff that I have comprehended from the scenes. If there are stuff that I do feel like I understood accurately, I am gonna say it. It's just that I'm just getting little ideas from what I've seen on the episode of what I heard. It's just that I feel like they're planning it in a way, and they're throwing ideas here and there, just like how friends are, and they're doing such a great job at being friends. I do feel like it's very important why they turn things around in episode 7 and 8 as compared to the manga, where it just went straight on to just Haruto pining over Otto the entire time, because it shows that these two have much more in common and have much more of this healthy dynamic than just Haruto hiding his feelings or Otto being confused about what she feels for Haruto. Like, them being friends show that they do have this something in them that just click together. And we see Megurin at the side just seeing them together, and she has this sad look on her face that I actually feel sorry for her. But I like how she's someone who's not really, they're not turning her evil in a way. Like, she's still this nice girl who, she knows what she got into. She knows that Haruto is in love with Otto and she pushed to be in his life, and I think she is recognizing that every time she sees them together. It's just that, you know, she's still trying because she sees that Haruto is also trying to move on. And one of the funniest things that I have noticed in that scene where Otto and Haruto are pitching ideas for the date is that because of Narumiya's suggestion that a first date or a really nice gift would be first kiss, Haruto went on to ask Otto if she and Tenma already kissed, and we saw how, you know, Otto got all flustered, because we all know that that happened in a couple of episodes back. It was just a funny thing because we saw that we don't know what's happening inside Haruto's head, but we do know that it sort of just shows that whether or not there's some jealousy that went into his head, it was more of just them maintaining that friendship dynamic where they can talk about Otto's relationship with Tenma without the conversation being tossed at. So I did love that sort of scene. It just made me feel really, really sad for Megurin. See Otto get attacked by these weird ass people. That one was straight out of the manga. She did get her face sprayed on with something, causing her to be hospitalized, and Tenma was just rushing there and everything, and just so happens that Konoe and then this other Momonozono girl saw her. Now, if you've read the manga, then you would know where this is coming from or what are the implications of this. But then if you're seeing the episode for the first time, we would know that, you know, Konoe has been creepy ever, like, for past couple of episodes. But we do know that it's leading to somewhere. And it was later on revealed that Konoe was behind the attacks, not just spray painting ish, or Etoku hunting Otto, because that was what the the guy who sprayed Otto's eyes said it was more of like an etoku hunting, or I'm not sure if I heard it right, but he sort of said something like etoku merai something. So it was, I think it was implying, if my Nihongo is right, that it was saying that etoku has no future. I don't know, again, don't quote me on this, but in the manga they refer to it as etoku hunting, like they're attacking students from etoku. And but here it's just Otto. And so it was also revealed later on into the episode that Konoe was also the one behind the cake thing and the spray painting thing, as if we don't know it yet, or at least for people who have read the manga, you already know that. It's just that for other people it was good to sort of like confirm those suspicions that he is indeed creepy as fuck. But anyways, the thing is, I think there was this one scene in the hospital where when Tenma rushed to Otto, where he sort of said that Kaguragi should be warned about these attacks or something. I'm not sure, but it just shows again that Tenma is actually a good person, like he's not behind all the attacks and everything. And I think Konoe imposed how this is like an opportunity to contrast how the schools are. I'm not sure, but again, I think there's that bit there in the hospital, but I'm moving on from that since I couldn't really understand that. You can hold me to my words regarding that. But here we go to Haruto again, trying so hard because he knows that Megurin also tries hard, so he's trying so hard for the relationship as well to work. And so he went to Megurin's photo shoot and he was being very supportive. Like, I think he said that what she's doing was really cool and he wanted to see her doing her work and stuff. And it just shows how genuine he really wanted things to work out, you know. He really, it was him not just showing appreciation to what she's been doing for the past couple of episodes, but there was this part in episode 4 or 5, I think, where he said that when he was talking to Kobayashi and then he was yearning for someone to like him for him and not be whenever he's trying to be perfect, and that person is Megurin, in fact. So it's him like really giving her a chance. Now it's quite funny because, as usual, we got the cliche of, oh, the boyfriend is here, take some photos, or blah blah blah. It's a good thing that it didn't do it Hana Yori Dango style, where it was gonna be published everywhere afterwards. I'm not sure if they're gonna do that, but I do think that they just put in that scene to show that Haruto is really showing effort, and in a way, for Megurin to have that sort of like keepsake of that fun time where they sort of like enjoyed being together after everything that would happen afterward, which is, now listen, Tokyo is a big ass place. I have been there. It's just that for a big ass city, it's just kind of weird for Otto and Otto to run into Megurin and Haruto while they are on their date. I don't know, it was just so bizarre. But anyways, I think for the plot it has to happen. But I don't know, it's just weird to me. Anyways, I think I'm skipping the main, or not really main, but like a minor detail in episode 9 that I absolutely loved. I think it was genius for the writers to include this, and thus my fascination of it. But just in case you missed it, there is a stir fry metaphor that happened in episode 9, and it's my absolute favorite thing. It's such a small detail, but I absolutely loved every second of it. Cause, okay, so rewind a bit to the juxtaposition between the scenes of Otto preparing something for Tenma while Haruto was trying his hardest to go to the photo shoot and support Megurin and shit like that. Now, Otto is preparing stir fry. Now it's deliberately put there for us to see that she was making the exact same thing. Like, she put in the Brussels sprouts last. The scenes were, I mean, the shots were very deliberate in a way that it was focused on her putting the Brussels sprouts or pea sprouts or something onto the pan. Very similar to when she was cooking stir fry with Haruto in Kono-san's apartment. And so we move on to her going to meet Tenma, the food, obviously, because she was holding the bento thing. And then she sees Konoe doing all that shady shit, that discovers that he was behind all the crazy ass things that has been going on. And she tries to confront him. He goes creepy ass on her, and I think sort of like brags that Tenma wouldn't believe her in a way. And so after that, she looks so disturbed. She goes directly to the kendo studio, and then Tenma was there. He looks overjoyed, and then he sees the stir fry and he says it looks delicious. Now, we all remember what Haruto said about Otto's stir fry. He compared it to something that is much better than something that a 3-star Michelin restaurant would produce. Now, to be fair, I only found out about what a Michelin star restaurant is due to another anime, which is Shokugeki de Soma, or Food Wars. It's so bad. Like, I'm 23 years old and I just found it out like through an anime a couple of months back or a year back, something like that. But because of that, I do understand how crazy or how complimentary that statement is. Now, if you're like me who don't know what a Michelin restaurant is, it's like Oscars for restaurants. You know, if your restaurant has a Michelin star, then most likely a lot of people are lining the shit up to eat there because the food is absolutely exquisite. I think it's something like that, easier to compare it to, like, again, Oscars for restaurants. But anyway, for someone to say that about a stir fry, and then we do remember that I think in episode 5 or 6, when they did the double date thing in the amusement park, Haruto was really upset because when he saw the bento, obviously he said that doesn't seem like Otto at all, because it sort of, to him, I think it looks very pretentious, and it looks like something that is prepared for Tenma. It has to be perfect. Whereas the stir fry, he saw how raw the materials are, the ingredients are. When it was used, it was dirty, it was clean, and then it was transformed into something beautiful, which to him is like he compared Otto to the stir fry. So it's sort of like symbolic. When Tenma saw it, he looked at it and said that, you know, it looks amazing. And afterwards, when Otto confronted Konoe in front of Tenma during the same scene, because he's there for some reason, like, did he run really fast? It's bizarre, like the timeline is crazy. But anyways, he got there first and was in the middle of practicing, I think. So Tenma found it really difficult to believe Otto, that when he stood up to get in between Otto and Konoe, the stir fry fell to the floor. And I don't know about you, but I am making a big deal out of this. I swear. That was a turning point of when Tenma, it was such a critical moment for Tenma, sort of, because of how important the things are, like how Otto is telling him all these things, and you know, he chose to sort of like get in between them and not believe her and side with someone else, and he totally disregarded that thing. I don't know, I mean, if it was any other food, I probably wouldn't be making a big deal out of it, but it was stir fry, the exact same stir fry. So I do think there's some sort of like metaphor or parallelism to it that shows how in this episode it's gonna be a critical thing for Otto to, like, the dynamics of how important Otto is for Kaguragi and for Tenma. So the stir fry metaphor, I'm calling it that. I'm sorry, it's a big deal to me. But okay, I need to move on from that. Now, I'm not blaming Tenma for not believing Konoe. Like, don't get me wrong, Domyoji also did that to Makino during that whole love hotel setup thing by Sakurako. Yes, I have been watching Hana Yori Dango again just to make all these connections. But again, this is where the whole Tenma is the perfect, supposedly, protagonist, even if he's obviously the second lead in this one. But they made him seem like he's perfect at everything. He does have his flaws, but he's not the typical, you know, perfect but mysterious character. He has dimension in a way, but his outmost righteousness or uprightness is where his massive flaw is. And it's just, I don't know, I think it just shows that he in himself, he also has his flaws. He's not perfect. He sees the good in almost every person, and so this is where it leads. You know, for me, I mean, Otto has tried so hard to be perfect for Tenma, so it really is kind of disappointing if he didn't believe her, someone like his childhood friend and first love, over this other person whom he trusts, because they're in the student council together. Maybe he's afraid that Konoe will try something again and it would devastate. I don't know, but to me it's just, I understand why Otto is upset, but I do understand where Tenma is coming from also. Like, he's not a 100% douchebag now just because he didn't believe Otto. But then, which leads me to my next point. Again, here, as I mentioned earlier, it was just kind of weird, but then plot-wise, it makes sense for Otto to run into Haruto and Megurin. You can obviously see that they're getting along fine. It's just that it's evident for Megurin to notice that when Haruto saw Otto's face, they immediately know that something's wrong. And I love this thing where Haruto then really immediately run after Otto, which shows that, as compared, now going back to the comparison thing that I was talking about earlier, compared to Domyoji, where he was just so focused and in love with Makino to the point that even if Monkey Girl, remember her, the one with the long ass surname that I wouldn't even try to pronounce because I would just fumble over it, but we do know Monkey Girl, so I'm just gonna refer to her as that, where she was his fiance in season 2. She was really nice, crazy but nice, and she was really trying to make an effort, and then Domyoji said that, okay, I'll date you, but then he didn't really put much effort into it. We see the contrast between him and Haruto in that way, which starting from episode 7 showed that they do have their differences, you know, that they're two different characters altogether. It's not just, this is one thing that I love about Hana Nochi Hare, is that they didn't make the characters in Hana Yori Dango, like Hana Nochi Hare, a copy of the characters in Hana Yori Dango, so they are existing on their own as well. For here, Haruto didn't really want to leave Megurin because it was supposed to be their first date. It's just that Megurin, seeing that and being an actual kind person that she is, which a lot of people are so mad about because they're saying that the other characters have flaws, but then they keep maintaining, like, they keep on making Megurin perfect and nice. Being like overly kind is actually a flaw. I have friends who I want to smack because of how nice and kind they are, and not even the pretentious kind of nice, like actual nice. So it is an actual flaw, and there was this one part there where Haruto didn't want to leave her, but then she said that she was worried for Otto, and I think based from what I heard, it's like it would really make her feel better if Haruto ran after Otto to find out what's going on. So I do think that at that point, and then the other parts later on that where she goes to Kono-san's apartment, meets up with Irie, and sort of like sells everything. It was sort of like her giving up Haruto because she's finally had that resolution inside her head that it's not gonna work. Like, even if he's trying so hard to move on, in his heart, Otto's still there. So yeah, I do think that that's the point where Megurin's just like, okay, this is what's gonna make you happy, this is what's inside your heart, so just go. But then yeah, and in that moment, I really love her already. I love her so much now. But anyways, so Haruto runs after Otto, even makes this joke about, since she's sitting like that on the stool, it was like, someone might see your underwear or something. I don't know. But from what I understood, it's that probably a reference to the whole pancake thing in episode 1, 2. So, and then they spend time together and all of those things. It's kind of just nice again to, if it weren't for episode 7 and episode 8 where they established a friendship, it would just kind of be weird for them to be hanging out like that in episode 8. I think there would be some sort of like awkwardness after Haruto confessing his feelings. It would just be so weird, I mean, in reality. So I like how they sort of like close that chapter first for them to move on to this next chapter. And when the confrontation scene happened, Konoe was even egging Tenma on, saying, I think, that, you know, obviously they're here together again, blah blah blah. He wanted to make it seem like Otto is cheating on Tenma again with Haruto, and here's proof, or blah blah. But then I do think, and this part I absolutely loved in the manga, and I love how they executed it in the series, where Haruto was like scolding Tenma so hard about, first, like, someone can easily take Otto away from you, and it's sort of like, it makes even more sense because in episode 8 he even became the wingman for them to work out their engagement, you know. And then fast forward to this one where Tenma, what the heck are you doing? Like, it's sort of like this realization that he sacrificed for this relationship to work out, and then Tenma is just blowing things up to smithereens. And my favorite line from the manga and from this is that no matter what happens, you should believe the girl that you love. That's what Haruto shouted. So and then I think Tenma replied in a way that, you know, it's not like he doesn't believe Otto, it's just that, and he keeps on referring to Konoe as this important friend that he has, probably because he does trust him. And Haruto it just blew Haruto's mind, and he was just so angry. And we see Otto over there, and if I understood correctly, and also based from what I know from the manga, what Otto was thinking while seeing the two of them fighting, especially Haruto making his case about the whole situation, is that why is Kaguragi the one who is defending me, or who is believing me, or the one who is understanding me in this crucial situation? Like, she has always relied on Tenma being by her side, when in fact Haruto is the one defending her now when she needs someone to believe her the most. So it was that thought process there that provoked her to stop both of them from fighting, because I do think that at that point on, she was already so confused with what was going on, or what she was feeling, or her frustrations and disappointments as to what is going on, and so she needed to just stop. I see Otto sitting in Ebisu Garden Place, and then Haruto comes back, climbs into the, he's such a kid, but he climbs into, like, from the other side, of the stone thing. Now I have seen the actual Ibisu thing, and there's no step on that side. There's just one crevice there where you can sit, so the other side you couldn't step. But anyways, so he literally climbed through the stone just to get through that little window thing. But anyways, that's besides the point. You can see there that he was trying to make his move, and then he was being all clumsy altogether because he's Haruto. He's not smooth at all. He doesn't have a smooth bone in his body. He doesn't even have that, you know, slick and I don't know. I mean, we know Haruto, he's not cool, so obviously he couldn't pull that off, but he's cool in his own way when he pulled out the pig thing. It's kind of weird because if you wanted to purchase it, by the way, I think TBS on their website, they are selling the pig thing, so if you want to buy it, it's for 2,200 yen. Just putting it out there. But basically he gave it to her again because he said that, you know, probably that's why she's been having bad luck or something, like she gave that up, so he's giving it back to her. And then we see them like parting ways, and the most pivotal thing that happened in that episode is Otto thanking Haruto for believing her. Obviously we've seen that, and then they were about to part ways, and Haruto is like, okay, couldn't hold this back anymore, hugs Otto from behind. And Otto was like, what the heck is going on? And then Tenma just sees them, and Kaguragi was he had this resolve in his eyes. Absolutely loved the glare that he gave Tenma. He wasn't even like hugging Otto for the sake of just, you know, taunting him. It was more of just showing that someone is willing to steal her away from you. And yeah, and I do love how, you know, Tenma sort of like apologized. He said that he believed her, blah blah blah, but then in my head it was like, bitch, too late. And I do understand that it's kind of frustrating for your rival to be the one to make you realize that, in a way. But what I love the most is the last sequences, you know. Otto was already content with, you know, finally resolving everything with Tenma. It was a stressful day, blah blah blah. But then she pulls out Washington from her pocket, and everything just sort of like shifts. I do think that snap inside her head or her heart sort of shows us that it was such a crucial moment, and Haruto was the one there, you know. And it's always been hard she's always put Tenma in this pedestal, you know, but when it was time for him to put the relationship into consideration and to merit what they have gone through for this crucial moment, he wasn't one to believe her. Like, that's the peak of her seeing, I think, his perfection and his ability to believe in people, or in the goodness of other people, where it was really difficult. It was more of like, it's hard to keep up with something like that, especially if I myself have been trying so hard to. And so you see that confused look on her face, even hurt even, or pain, or I don't know. But then this is a crazy part. I do find it funny how Haruto's room is just basically a receiving area for everybody. Like, I do understand that his friends are welcome there, Megurin even, because she just goes in and out of there on her own, even before they were in good, like her and Haruto were in good terms. But then, like, even Tenma going in there to confront him, it was just so weird. Like, dude, that's your private space. You have a massive ass house. Don't you have a receiving area? Kobayashi, what the heck is going on? But anyways, the confrontation finally happens. Tenma, I mean, sure, Tenma realized that the person who was with him, who was holding his hand during the most critical part of his life, was Oto. But I do think that Haruto's reasoning is that it should be an immediate response if someone that important to you, or someone who claim to love so much, is in a crucial situation. Then you shouldn't think twice about it anymore. So I do think that was the important point in this episode. And I loved where Haruto said that I'm not giving Edogawa up. And then Tenma goes like, don't you even think about our feelings or something like that. It was more of like, Oto has already chosen between us in a way. He didn't say that, but I do think that that was what his line implies, that, you know, Oto has already chosen, she has already made her feelings clear. But Haruto's like, feelings, you didn't even care about her feelings with what you did today, something like that. Again, please don't quote me on this, but some of the bits that I did understand sort of like implies that, or tells us that it's not about Oto's feelings anymore, it's about Haruto not giving up, and Haruto trying his hardest to win Oto back in a way. And so for some reason, Haruto's dad is just loitering around the house, and he just so happens to see both of them, and he recognizes Tenma, or acknowledges Tenma, sorry, in a way that he is a champion in Aikido, Kendo, blah blah blah, and everything like that, which shows us again that Tenma is this perfect character, and probably the son that Kaguragi's dad wants to have. And then he goes off to even like say that it was more of like comparing Haruto and Tenma and while they're together, and how showing how Haruto is pathetic or something like that. And in the manga, I think it was Konoe, if I remember correctly, who proposed for them to battle it out in the manly man competition. At least that's what it was called in the manga. I'm not sure how they called it in the series. I couldn't understand that part, but they are doing the competition, and I do think that Haruto's dad being the one to propose it is a much better turn, especially for the story arc of Haruto, because it adds a much like a heavier handicap for him, knowing that his dad is the one who initiated the entire thing. So they are gonna like fight it all out in the competition as to who, like, it's more of like, okay, this is for Oto sort of thing, like who's better, something like that. And it just, if it was even more possible, because the manly man competition is basically everything that Tenma is good at, and we have established that by him throwing Haruto to the floor. He couldn't even like punch him one time, but it just shows that. And then Haruto just takes on the challenge. I wouldn't spoil who the winner is unless you've seen the manga, then you would know how the events would turn out. But we only have like 2 more episodes to go, and then episode 10 is the manly man competition. So if my instincts are right, they're going to cut off this series in that certain crucial moment. And then if we have a season 2, then yeah, I would talk about that once I do my episode 11 video. But we're in it for, we're really in for a ride. And again, this entire episode, I do think that a lot of people, I've seen Twitter, a lot of people have changed their minds. A lot of people, I think, are turning into Team Haruto because of what happened. But again, I don't blame Tenma for not believing Oto. It's just that in a way, if you claim someone, especially someone that you've gone through like a lot, especially a childhood friend or someone who has really been with you through a critical moment. They sort of like deserve to, for you to believe in them, you know. So I get at, and yeah, I'm team Haruto, so whatever. But yeah, as always, these are my messed up thoughts about, as usual, it's messy, just like my other video. It's just me waffling about my thoughts on the episode. I'm so excited because they sort of like teased that Sojiro will be in the next episode, which is quite a cool, because he was in the actual manga chapter about Manly Man. So it's kind of cool that they're doing that, which means that we have another F4 cameo coming in. But then anyways, yeah, tell me your thoughts on episode 9 down in the comments below. I'll be enjoying what you'll be saying about it. If ever someone replies again and watches this long ass video that I will be uploading. But anyways, please give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and if you're new to my channel and you would want to hear more from me, please hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll be seeing you again soon in a new one. Bye!